Welcome to the 2025 ACHA annual meeting in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody behaved themselves last night. I know some people didn't, but I think for the most part everybody did. So let's just a reminder: shut your cell phones off or silence them. Jimmy Martin will test you. So let's officially call this meeting to order. A little bit late, so we're gonna have to hustle a little bit here. It's going to take a little while, so let's get started with the roll call. Start over here, name and where you're from.
Lloyd Hay, ACHA Strategic Planning. I think I'm good.
That's it. Well, congratulations and welcome everybody. Like I said before, it's a challenge to get up this early on a Saturday in Nashville. I get it. I would like to just welcome a couple of special guests. We have a new USA Hockey rep here, Ted Devine. You're going to hear from Ted in a little while. I know he's new to USA Hockey, but he is familiar with ACHA Division I. At least I know for one night in December he is, so he can talk about that. I don't see Al. I know Al's here. I don't know. Bobby Rodriguez, great to see you again. Bobby's a longtime ACHA coach at Keene State, moved his program up to NCAA Division III last year, had a successful season. I think he went 13-10. That's a pretty nice jump, Bobby. Congratulations and welcome back. I'm of the opinion that you can't have too much Rasty McGibbon, so I'm going to bring Rasty up and let him recognize our national champions, our coach of the years, our player of the years, and in some divisions, our community service award winner. So Rasty, come on up.
Good morning. I am just going to let some of you guys in the back know. You can tell I'm Baptist. There are plenty of good seats up front. Okay, so if you want to come up, I can help seat you, but if not, if you're happy standing, great. I am going to announce by division. I will then ask for your congratulations and applause at the end of the division. So if we can just, for bookkeeping, and see if we can make up a little bit of time along the way. Start with Men's Division III. National champion this year, their fourth was Hope College. The Coach of the Year for Men's Division III, Tanner Cook from the U.S. Air Force Academy. The Player of the Year from Oakland University, Brandon Dano. And the Community Service Award winner for Men's Division III, Missouri State University. Please join me in congratulating all the winners from Men's Division III. Women's Division II, our national champion this year from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Sioux College. That's their third in a row. The Coach of the Year from Central Michigan University, we heard from yesterday, Chris Haney. The Player of the Year from Eastern Michigan University is Samantha Sitterly. And the Community Service Award winner for Women's Division II, please join me in congratulating West Virginia University. Please, all Women's Division II. For Men's Division II, our national champions are Lindenwood University. First national championship for them at the M2 level. The Coach of the Year from University of Utah, Nick Fornelius. The Player of the Year, we're glad that he was here in person this year, Jorgen Johnson from Montana State. There was not a Community Service Award winner recognized. So please join me in congratulating all the winners from Men's Division II. Women's Division I. The national champion this year with their seventh is Liberty University. The Coach of the Year, also from Liberty University, is Chris Lowe's. The Player of the Year from Maryville University is Haley Beckett. There was not a Community Service Award winner recognized. Please join me in congratulating Women's Division I. Men's Division I. National champions, their first, University of Nevada at Las Vegas. Coach of the Year, also for University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Anthony Vigneri-Greener. The Player of the Year from Maryville University is Max Wagner. And the Community Service Award winner is Missouri State University. Please join me in congratulating Men's Division I. Also, we had a very special and at times emotional two presentations last night for the ACHA Hall of Fame. One of the winners from 2022 was here in person, and that presentation was able to be made in person. and also Josh Petrusma accepted on his late father's behalf. So please join me in congratulating from the class of 2022, Chris Wilk, and for 2024-2025, Mike Petrusma. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Rasty, and thanks for emceeing the banquet last night. I did just get a text from Rasty's wife, and she said that no, in fact, you can get too much of Rasty, so I don't know. It's not true, but you can. Before I move on to the all-exciting acceptance of the 2024 minutes, I would just like to take a second to recognize some of the rinks in the room. I don't know if McKendry's here. As you know, at Nationals, we ran into a little bit of a problem with a tornado coming through, and we had to scramble to find ice last minute. And McKendry University stepped up big time. Lloyd in his rink stepped up big time. John Hogan, Maryville. Without these people and these connections, we would have been dead in the water. So I really do appreciate it. It was just so nice that everybody. I was at the McKendry rink, and I know there's a guy selling popcorn and driving a Zamboni, and he had no idea what he was walking into. And when he sees all the ACHA people pulling up and setting up banners and getting down to business, so it was pretty impressive. And Lloyd, certainly thank you. Like I said, I don't know if McKendry's here, but certainly thank your staff as well. So let's go ahead and do the acceptance of the minutes.
Morning, everybody. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read the minutes that were handed out. They were on the back table. If you did, I would like to have a motion to accept the minutes for last year's meeting. Is there a second? All in favor? Raise your hand with the tags with your wristbands. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
You ready, Jim? The report of the treasurer, Jim Martin.
Okay. That's okay. You guys can hear me okay? I've never been accused of being quiet, so let's see. Yeah, there. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Morning, everyone. The summary P&L for 23-24 is in the back. 24-25, of course, is not complete. That'll include things like this event. We're still getting in things from the national tournament and stuff, so it's always on a year lag. We did go over this and keeping with prior year's tradition yesterday for about an hour and a half with questions at the end. Gone through every number and where it is, where it goes, why is it that. Today is just a summary for those less interested than all the detail. Except if you weren't there yesterday, you missed. It is the most fascinating hour and a half of this entire weekend, and you missed out. So just getting into the numbers and grinding through everything line by line. So anyway, just like last year, nothing's really different in the financial systems that we have, although it's good to always go over that and that. It's basically, the financial system is basically a sealed box. All the money comes in electronically. It goes out, everything goes out. And this is a misunderstanding that we have, is because people send me stuff. I don't approve anything. Is everything I send out is approved by someone else. So Craig has it in a budget. Paul approves it. The board approves it. There's nothing that you can send me that say, oh, can you pay this? No, it has to be approved. Causes some friction sometimes when I won't do that. But and then we've got the couple ways. So there's a lockbox when you send your checks to it's the 3876 Solution Center Chicago address. That's actually a lockbox, and that's a PO box that the bank runs. All the mail goes in there every morning. They go to the post office box. empty it out, deposit all the checks that are in there. If somebody sends a document there, they scan it and send it. So very, very handy. It's all in there. We get ACHs directly into the account, but some schools are on that. A lot of schools are using like purchase automation systems, you know, the e-bill pay. We're probably about over a third are doing that. And every year we sign up about another dozen that all the schools are moving towards electronic remittances. But it's all set to do that. We have the ACHA store still, which is the Shop ACHA. And then the Square website is sort of an ancillary payment acceptance thing that used to host the Warrior sales when we still did those things and was used this year to collect the revenue from M2 regionals in Southeast, because we were the host of that. We sold the gate, we kept the gate, and that was collected through. It's, you know, got the little iPad and a plastic stand. You kind of flip around like like when you go to the bagel store or something. You know, same thing. You wheel it around, you swipe your card, all those things like that. All those things electronically clear into one of the bank accounts. There's 4 bank accounts, and it's managed through a thing called Pinnacle, which is just a treasury management system that I can go on and see all the balances, see where all the money goes, everything else. One other thing, there is now 5 accounts. We have it is the 4th one. The 4th account is a money market now. So if you look, this is something new from last year. Under revenues, there's about $20,000 revenue that says interest income. So when interest rates spiked 2 years ago, you know, they had been 0.75%. They had a deal and offered us 4.5% on a money market account. So switching the money over to the money market, it shows up in the same screen. I can move stuff around, move money in, move money back out to one of the other disbursement accounts. But while it's in there, we earn $20,000 in interest income. That's from dues collected in the fall till we have to pay them out in the spring. So that's been very high. Interest is down a little bit today or this year, which is really good, even though we get a little less. But so that's, I think this year going to be $15,000 or $16,000 as interest rates start to fall a little bit. But still, it's basically free money that we have out there that we can put to work for us doing something with that. So I've got the stuff here. It's again broken down. We're not going to go through this just because we did that yesterday. And if you have questions on any of the numbers, you can see me over there. I'll be around all day, or ask me offline or something. Just because, you know, we had an agreement I won't go on for 45 minutes about the financials today. So they're broken down by the programs we have, and so QuickBooks has, like you see, QuickBooks, it has revenues, it has expenses. I take it and move it around to match the revenue with the expenses that generate that revenue. And so you can see we've got just general income, which is all the stuff that's really not for a specific program, then general expenses, and on the page 1 is the front. That's where we have the stick program, the annual meeting here, what that costs, what M2 regionals cost, and then the national tournament. This year, there will also be the World University Games for both men and women, or a program we did this year, and the M2 All-Star Challenge. So when we look at this, when we're back here a year from now, grinding through this, the best hour and a half of the day, there'll be those programs broken out there with categories about what we collect on each one of those events and what it costs the ACHA. And again, we use that as a board to plan programs and administer things. So 25 National Tournament was hosted again by Centene. We don't think the storm is going to be incredibly impactful. We did lose some revenue just because they weren't able to accept the gate on the morning games where they were relocated to the emergency rinks, for lack of a better word. So probably a little bit off next year when we're back here looking at that, but it should be pretty consistent. The other days were very well attended though, so it may come out about the same, but we're working through and figuring all that out about what that was. There also was some additional costs because we bought the additional ice, and now we're getting, you know, credit and settling up with Centene. So that's all still in process, and we're working through those things. But all in all, it was a very successful event, as was this year. So total revenue for 23-24 was $65,785. That's net of everything, end of the day. So again, this year should be about the same, even with the other emergency stuff that we had there. So Again, I'm recommending to the board that we do not have a dues increase. We hold dues where they are. And it's really through Craig's efforts and the rest of the board's efforts to bring in these other revenue sources that we can do things like absorb the increasing costs that we face too, just like your team does, through transportation, through, buses, things like this, that we can keep the dues that we charge the teams the same, because we're now looking for money from outside the organization. So rather going left pocket, right pocket, we're bringing in outside money to help pay for those things too. So that's the overall strategy, and that's going very well as we find new revenue sources and new ways to do that. At least we can hold the line on costs, So, there we go. So, anyone have any questions? I can take a couple, I guess, if you have a question. Otherwise, so every year I do the big meeting. It's always day before this meeting. So Friday, it's usually at 10. I think Paul scheduled it, but commercial for next year, we go through this in detail. Everyone asks questions. We grind through what that was, what works, what doesn't, all those other things like that. So when you're ready to delve into the fascinating world of ACHA finances, think about attending that one. So thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Up next is the Executive Director Report. Craig Barnett.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to Nashville and attending the meeting here today. For those of you that attended the banquet last night, it was great. Thank you for attending the banquet. Congratulations to all those award winners last night or yesterday afternoon. As always, if you have questions for me, just please reach out. I'll ask if you have questions throughout this presentation here, but I'm always available. If you have questions, please give me a shout or an email or what have you. So recognize most of the faces. 7 years now, I'm starting to get it. But as you did roll calls, walking down, just making sure that I see some new faces out there. And if this is your first time at the annual meeting, again, welcome and thanks for attending. So the packet that you got from me just covers a lot of different information. It could have been 25 pages long if we needed it to be, but some important stuff, as you can see in your packet here, a lot of the stuff on the screen will mimic that. In terms of membership, we always have kind of like 2 or 3 different numbers, right? We have the declaration process, which typically starts the Monday after July 4th. And we have a certain amount of teams that declare at the beginning of the year. And then as we collect dues and so forth, sometimes we have some teams that, don't compete that year, and the important number for me is how many teams competed this year. So as you'll see on the screen there, we had 472 teams compete. So again, we're approaching, we're starting to get close to that 500 number. But all the divisions, if you remember numbers from COVID and pre-COVID, we're moving up. We've increased, we've enhanced the numbers. You can see that men's 1 will be at 80 plus this coming year. Men's 2 should hit 200 or be close to 200 this coming year. Men's 3 got over it's impressive with 111 teams this past year. They, after COVID, we were down to about 67, I think. So we've come a long way with men's 3. A big get for us last year was, when you combine women's 1 and women's 2, we finally hit over 100 teams in women's hockey, which is fantastic. Membership numbers, 12,842 members. That includes players and coaches, and I think the coaches numbers might be a little light. I broke down some numbers in your packet there. You can see per division. What's interesting for me is the average players per team. So you can see how that breaks down per division in your package there. I think it's the fifth column over. And again, I think the coaches' numbers were a little light on the report that we got. You can see the average amount of coaches that registered through the USA Hockey Portal, and rosters were approved by Hockey Ops. Number of games played this year. At the end of the day, after everything, without boring you with national tournament numbers and so forth, but 5,770 games. That's over 500 more games that the ACHA membership played this year compared to last year. So that's like about a 10% increase. National tournament. Before I talk about the national tournament and congratulate the champions, I also want to echo what Paul talked about in St. Louis this year. For the teams that were in St. Louis on that Saturday morning, Friday night with the tornado, I've been in athletics for a long time, as a coach and administrator and so forth. But the effort that went into this when that tornado hit in St. Louis was very special. I want to thank a lot of people here for what happened. But basically, the tornado hit down about half a mile from Centene, caused a lot of damage in some soccer fields and so forth. And that was the beginning of the tournament. That was day 3. So we had 3 divisions a day or 2 away from traveling to St. Louis. At the same time, we lost, we potentially were going to lose a whole day of games at Centene because the rink was down. We lost power. We met as a staff. So how we do our national tournament. We have a local organizing committee and we have an organizational committee. So our organizational committee is a group of ACHA commissioners, staff, and so forth that meet with the local organizing committee from St. Louis. And that includes the facilities, that includes people that help us attain volunteers and people, numerous amount of people. The staffing that we need to get from St. Louis, the athletic trainers and in-game officials. So we meet starting in usually September, twice a month on Zoom calls, and we plan the national tournaments in advance and hopefully eliminate a lot of surprises. You never know how many surprises we eliminate with the planning and all that, but the one surprise, which isn't really a surprise anymore because it's been 2 years in a row, is they get tornadoes in Missouri. So when this one hit, we really felt that we were going to lose a whole day of games. And we didn't know how long it was going to take for Centene to get their power back up. And we did an emergency meeting over at the rink with a lot of people, a lot of ACHA people, facility people, about midnight. We really felt that we were going to have to start making some phone calls and find out how long this is going to take to reschedule a whole day of games, day 3 of our national tournament. Paul and I spent a lot of time on phone calls and text after the meeting. And so we decided, hey, I need to talk to Lloyd. Lloyd Ney is the mayor of St. Louis when it comes to hockey. So I text Lloyd probably maybe 4:45 a.m. And I said, hey, do me a favor. When you wake up, give me a call. And he called me within 2 minutes. And we started meeting in the lobby, our coaches, our commissioners, everybody associated with this. And by 9 o'clock, 9:30, we had every game rescheduled. Maryville University Hockey Center, Ice Zone, McKendree Recreation Plex, St. Peter. We also use St. Peter's. Unbelievable. That community stepped up, and unlike some other areas that we all deal with ice, the facilities there worked with each other to find ice for us. As Paul said, the one guy at McKendree was, making really good popcorn, driving the Zamboni. It was incredible that we scheduled everything. We were a couple phone calls away from asking some divisions, hey, We don't have the ice. We might have to wait a day or two. And this community stepped up. What was really impressive for me was you think about, okay, we rescheduled games in 4 different rinks in St. Louis. The logistics of that, okay, the communication from our commissioners to the teams that were involved, to the coaches that were sleeping. They went to sleep whatever time and woke up at 8 o'clock, and they had text messages, phone calls on their phone saying, hey, your game is not at Centene today, it's in McKendree, 45 minutes away. So that communication, the logistics. Eddie, where's Eddie? At the back there, in Mono from Men's One. The logistics of getting hold of all your game officials and telling them where you're going to be in about 2-3 hours, and changing it up, to coordinate all that so the game's pretty much started on time. You know, Mike Hefner, group people from the local organizing committee that Lloyd knows very well, Mike Hefner with Athletic Church. Anyhow, long story short, the logistics of pulling this off was incredible. So I just took 5 minutes to talk about it because it was pretty special. I've never seen anything like that in my career. And, you know, we appreciate the people that we work with within the ACHA, with our staff and so forth, but also the partners that we have and the facilities we have. So it was an incredible experience. Our divisions that got there after it was all said and done, they missed a lot of it, thankfully, but their programs, their tournaments went on as scheduled. And it was just a great experience. So I wanted to take some time and thank all those people that were involved. So at this time, talking about the national tournament, let's go through a couple pictures here, but I want to just quickly, respectfully, but quickly congratulate our champions, as we did last night and as we did earlier today with Rasty. For myself, I want to congratulate UNLV for men's Division I as national champions. At the Division II level, Lindenwood University winning the M2 level. Division III level, Hope College. Women's I, Liberty University. And Women's II, Sioux College. It must be an incredible experience to win a national championship after a long season. And the games are really competitive. I'm not just blowing smoke, but the games this year at all divisions were very, very competitive. But congratulations to those coaches and your teams. This year, I just wanted to list some events that the ACHA we were part of this year. It was a busy year this year, more so than ever, because we added some more events to the table, to the schedule, and got involved with a few more events that I'll explain in a little bit here. But the regular season, started in September and went through to March 4th. We got involved in 2 tournaments that bring our teams together from different divisions, which helps the rankings, as you know, with some cross-pollination. But Joe Caprio is here, and as the coaches know, he does a great job in terms of managing events. And Joe, if you can just stand real quick here. So running the Big Ten Classic and the Chicago Classic in Romeoville, Illinois in November was a huge hit. The teams that participated did a great job there and enjoyed the experience, but we appreciate being able to add more events by having some other people involved with us, and Joe's been a welcome addition for us over the last 2 years. Thank you for doing that, Joe. And then we also were part of the Show Me showcase that Maryville put on, John Hogan put on, and that was also successful. And I'll explain a little bit what we're doing there. Dave Kurtz has started working on that a few years ago in terms of trying to develop some in-season tournaments that we could help and assist with particular hosts that will promote the cross-divisional play which, as you know, will help the algorithms and so forth, however those work, but per division. The more you play outside your division, the better the algorithms and the ranking piece works. As communicated earlier, the World University Games this year in Torino, it was, at the end of the day, it's about the student athlete experience, and the games are great, and it was great being there. It was great seeing Italy. The student athlete experience, I think, was very well received. Talking to a lot of our student athletes, it was neat at the national tournament in St. Louis when some of those teams made the national tournament, and seeing their faces again that we saw in January, and they saw other teammates that they played with in Torino. But that was a big event for us to be part of once again. It was something that we were part of for a long time and got the opportunity again. So we made it work. But it was a lot. It was a lot. I'd like to thank Paul Hebert and Jim Martin from our board, because they did a lot of the logistics and administrative things to get that going, and allowed me to focus on the season and working with our staff and worrying about our season at that point in January. So appreciate all that extra effort there. Men's 2 regionals, as you know, is a big deal for us. The national tournament we talked about. For men's 2, we brought back the All-Star Challenge a few weeks ago in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and obviously this event here. But the other event that I want to talk about again is our prospect showcase. It's always been something that I wanted to do at the ACHA. As you may know, when I worked with the North American Hockey League, we started those combines, which became advantageous for all the teams that were in that particular league. I see this showcase series as the same thing for us and for you as coaches to be able to see maybe some prospective student athletes in different areas than you typically recruit from, be able to spend a weekend with them, getting on the ice for a practice, watching them, talking with them. I think it's a huge opportunity for the coaches to be recruiting, so we can tell our story about the ACHA. As we know, college hockey is really changing a lot since last year. It's going to continue to change, and I feel like this event allows us to stay on top of it, be in different pockets of the country to promote the ACHA. Joe Caprio started running those for us based on the success he had when he was with the Blackhawks in Chicago there, and running that showcase that was very successful in Chicago. So we have Joe managing these events. We started with 3 locations last year at Adrian College, in New Jersey, and in Vegas. This year we added 2 more. We're be in Fargo next weekend. We're excited about that. That's a new territory for us to promote the ACHA, and back in St. Louis. So what we need is our coaches, we average, depending on location, we get a lot of coaches that show up to that. Your participation is imperative for that to be successful. It's great for your program, we feel. We're trying to, I think with the men's programs, our numbers are pretty good there, but we really need women's coaches to participate in these a little more than we have right now. For your benefit, we're trying to grow the game on the women's side. We're getting girls registering to participate. It's not moving as quickly as we would like, but it's an opportunity for us. So I really encourage, if you haven't thought about it, or if you haven't understood how that works, Joe is kind enough to be here this weekend. We put our booth up over there, which shows that's what we use when we promote this to all the prospective athletes and families. Talk to Joe. We put the coaches up. We give you a social. We feed you. It's a great experience, and I guess I'm just kind of trying to sell it to you to be involved, to participate, and to help us grow the ACHA. Joe, thank you for everything that you do there with your staff, and for all the coaches that have attended. We really appreciate it, and I know you guys appreciate Joe's efforts as well. I have a couple things in the packet here that I don't have on the slide. So the next part of the packet that I gave you is just some indication of where what we're looking at for next year, 25-26 season, with new programs coming in, with teams changing divisions and so forth that have applied to change divisions. It's fairly accurate. We're expecting maybe some more applications from a couple different divisions this summer still, hopefully in the next few weeks. But you can see men's 1, how they're growing. As I mentioned, they'll be over 82, which Brian Moran's very, very excited about, I'm sure. Men's 2, again, growing. Men's 3 growing. W1, we'll add a couple teams. I do know, confirming with Molly, that Sienna Heights on the women's side will not be participating this coming year. They're not quite ready on the women's side after getting an email from their athletic director. And then again on women's 2, growing again. So we're excited about growth, excited about some teams changing divisions and so forth to find maybe a more competitive fit or a better fit for transportation or whatever that may end up being. But again, we're growing. Dates. Did that pop up? No. Dates for next year. Next section in your packet there, you'll see that we're targeting July 8th. That will be confirmed shortly for declaration. Again, it usually works. We always try July 1, but that goes into the July 4th holidays. And then we always tried right after July 4th, but you need a couple days to get back from the holidays and get settled. So it's usually a Tuesday after July 4th that we'll start the declaration for this coming season. The national tournament, you'll see the dates there for 2026. A little different than this past year, a lot more the same as it was in 2024. We experimented this year by extending the total national tournament dates by 2 or 3 days this year, thinking that having a bigger puzzle, having a bigger set to try and build this puzzle would work better for us, you know. And at the end of the day, I don't feel it did. I think we took away from the student athlete experience a little bit this year. The tournament got very light after the first weekend. There wasn't as much. The format didn't provide as much crossover with teams, with the different divisions. And at the end of the day, it's about the student athlete experience and also about trying to win a national championship. And I think we can do better with our atmosphere at the national tournament. So we're going back to the format that we used in 2024, where the tournament will only be 10 days long and not 12 or 13 days. More games to put into that smaller puzzle. And we found a way to do it. And the dates on the screen there are what the divisional dates are for each of your divisions. You have it in your packet here. Within the next 2 weeks, I'll have the detailed schedule out to your commissioners so they can review. We can target any challenges in that schedule and look at those. But I wanted to get those dates out to you. It's late. I apologize, but you'll also see. In the next section here, we have the dates set for 2027 and 2028 as well. The other one is a big one. Thanks to the Sheraton Music City Hotel here, we will be back here next year, and it will be the weekend after Mother's Day. So that's your Mother's Day present. So thank you for your patience. We wanted to make the move. We needed to make the move. We found this place, and we were stuck in Mother's Day weekend for 2 years now, but next year will be May 15th and 16th, so you can put that on your calendar. Talked about what's in your packet there for the dates, going down to the Flow Hockey in-season tournaments. The first part talks about in-season tournaments. So when I talk about in-season tournaments, those are those tournaments that we're trying to support through Flow Hockey to encourage teams to host a tournament that allows cross-divisional play. Again, to strengthen the the rank-ins and also to, play possible teams from different geographic locations in the States where you might not normally play them. So we've worked out a deal with Flow Hockey that they will broadcast 3 events for us a year, in-season tournaments. So it's a totally separate contract than what our national tournament one is. And that would allow us to help fund those in-season tournaments through the viewership numbers that watch those tournaments on TV, on Flow Hockey. So it's relatively a small stipend that we have, but we have about $10,000 to $15,000 a year to use through Flow Hockey to help support 2 or 3 tournaments a year. So if you have interest in hosting those, talk to your commissioner, talk to me. We already have a couple lined up for next year already. But that's the in-season tournaments. That's what that's all about. So the 2 that Joe managed in Romeoville last year, the one that John Hogan hosted at Maryville last year were the 3 that reached out to us 2 years ago, and we were able to offset some of their costs through the Flow Hockey viewership numbers. Okay, any questions on that? Because that's kind of new. It's kind of still, we're trying to work out some kinks and find ways to encourage membership to host a tournament like that. If there's any questions, please let me know, and I can walk you through that, and you can also be talking with your commissioners. What you're seeing on the screen here are the viewership numbers from this year, just to give you an idea of how successful that was with Flow Hockey and Flow TV. But what's interesting is down at the bottom of the page that you have mimics the numbers on the screen here. 119 games at the national tournament, 46,000 viewers. But you can see per division what was the average viewership per game. Flow Hockey TV's definition of viewership is someone that watches 2.5 minutes in a row. Okay, that's how they get that number. But you can see how the numbers look per division, and I can tell you that they were a slight increase from last year. What I wanted to talk about here with this slide is we kind of talked about it last year. It's how college hockey is changing. And it's doing more so than ever right now, as I'm sure you're aware. But the NCAA policy and the Canadian Hockey League, the eligibility for Canadian Hockey League players on the men's side to be able to play in the NCAA. And NCAA Division I passed that, as you may know, goes into effect this August. And that's going to allow those athletes that, not the ones that are signing with the big money in the NIL deals, but those players that are receiving nominal pay to play in the Canadian Hockey League are now eligible to play NCAA Division I. So what we have done, as you may know, is we have adopted that policy into the ACHA manual, just through an operational, in the operations section of the book. And with the caveat that men's Division I, men's Division II, and men's Division III will discuss that today and vote on if they wish to accept that policy into your division. If you accept it, that's great. If they choose to deny it, you can deny it. So you would not be operating with that new policy, okay? Here's the thing, it's changing, it's happening. Word is NCAA Division III is going to accept it next year. This gives us an opportunity to move forward with it. It could potentially protect us from maybe some legal action if we don't offer it and other leagues are offering it. What it really does is it opens more opportunities for prospective student athletes to play in the ACHA if they choose to. Okay, a couple things on this policy that NCAA Division I inherited. Those kids still need to meet the eligibility center requirements. And many of them are not. Many of them went to play in the Canadian Hockey League without a care of their high school grades because they didn't think they were going to play NCAA hockey. So there's a lot of players now being recruited by Division I schools that aren't necessarily going to be academically eligible to play. I think for the ACHA, for our membership, if you choose to move forward and adopt this in your division, this is going to open up the door for that kid that might have played 15 to 20 games over 2-3 years in the Canadian Hockey League, that right now would not be eligible to play in the ACHA. You know, maybe you will get a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman or a goalie. Maybe you will, because we have a great product to offer. We have some great academic institutions here to offer as well. So I would encourage you, when you go to your divisional meetings on the men's side, to vote on this. Please think outside the box. Please think from a broader scale. You know, this is about a way I feel that would enhance the ACHA. And I know that every campus is different, every program is different. You all have your own challenges. We're well aware of that. But this could be a nice thing for us to jump into right now. And I would encourage just looking at it from a big picture standpoint. The NIL policy, I'm not going to talk about that too much, but it's crazy. It's just crazy. I wanted to mention it. There's players playing in the Canadian Hockey League now that are being offered NIL deals at the NCAA Division I level, from $300,000 a year to the kid that's probably going to be a first-round pick up in Saginaw to Boston College offered him a $1.4 million NIL deal. So the landscape is changing. It doesn't affect us right now too much, but it becomes a domino effect. That landscape is changing. Now is the time for us to continue to evaluate the ACHA. How can we make it better as an entire organization, and then drill down how we can make it better and support our commissioners and our coaches and our student athletes. The transfer portal. I really strongly feel that this is something that we could look at doing through a very simple shared document. The transfer portal is an opportunity for us to not only show who wants to leave, maybe go to a different school, but it's going to allow us to educate the student athletes and the coaches on the process and be transparent instead of behind the scenes phone calls to maybe some different schools because they're unhappy they're not on the power play anymore. So it's something I think we should consider. Just real quick here, I know it's a little different, but Go for Puck Hockey is really good. They have it. This is live. Pop up. How do we get rid of this? All right. It's not going to pop up for me. There's a link. I'll send it out to the commissioners. They can share it with you. But there's a link that it's live, right? So right now, in the portal, there's like 300 players that have made themselves available through a process in which they contact the school, they put them in the system, it's transparent. And I think some of our programs now are being contacted by players in the transfer portal. We should create our own transfer portal. Very simple, right? Again, it becomes transparent. It educates the student athletes on what they need to do. It educates our coaches on, hey, you're not in the system. I cannot talk to you. So it's something that we're working on. It's something that we would talk to membership about before we would actually make it live if we go that direction. But Division III do it as well now. Women's hockey does it, right? So I think for us to continue to stay up on par with competitors, for lack of a better term, the ACHA, I think it's something that we should consider. And then the roster cap is the last thing on that list there, but the NCAA are really, really having a tough time with that. There's some pushback from some judges that they jump too quick on the roster cap, but that's a game changer too from an NCAA Division I standpoint that would affect ACHA hockey as well. So, any questions? I know I went over a lot of stuff right now, and I still have a couple more things. Any questions at this point about the change in landscape? Okay. At this point, as you know, last year, we brought Lloyd Ney in to chair our strategic planning committee. He worked a lot this year with our membership, different groups, different committees, and I want to give him the floor to come and talk to you. Lloyd? It's a good picture, better than the other one.
I'll use the dongle first on this side. Dongle. I don't know that I'll use the microphone. This side right there. Other way. Pops up, allow. These in there. Allow. Entire screen. All right. Okay, I typically don't use a microphone, as John reminded me yesterday. My voice kind of carries through, but we'll use it today. First, thanks for having me, everybody. I want to congratulate UNLV and Lindenwood University, Hope College, Liberty University, and Sioux College on their national championship wins. It's a big deal. Little special shout out with Lindenwood winning this year. Gary Gardner did a great job. I've known a bunch of these guys in the room here since they were players themselves, and to see Gary win it was pretty cool. But the coolest thing was, not every day you get a picture with your championship trophy with Garth Brooks. So that was pretty cool for them. Love you, brother. Great job. The rest of you Missouri guys, you're on the clock. So let's keep getting it done there. One other thing I'll show you is just a quick picture here. That's me from 1994 at Paul's Rink. It was my first year as a coach. We were lucky enough to win the national championship, but I pull that picture up because as a young coach, like you probably can't even guess which one I am. I look so different now, but my first game as a coach that year was against Calvin College and Mike Petrusma. So long time connection there, and I just want to take a second to honor his memory by kind of flashing that picture up. And I remember my first game as a coach was against him, so pretty good deal there. Strategic report this year. I'm going to keep this really brief because I know when we break into M1, we might get a little more detailed. Last year out here, there was an appetite to explore a potential new men's division that operated at higher standards as determined by the members. We had a few goals here to look at the feasibility of a division that might operate at a little bit higher level than what's currently in place through the development and enforcement of standards and an athlete scorecard and a program scorecard. The idea with that was we knew a year ago that the landscape was going to be changing. I'm fortunate enough to be involved with the United States Hockey League, and we were pretty intimately involved in understanding the landscape and potentially reacting to it. And one of the things that came out of that was an opportunity for the folks here to look at the next evolution of ACHA hockey. We put together a few tasks. The first thing we did was we created a committee to do the work. We met probably 5 or 6 times throughout the year to discuss various benchmarks. We put together a survey that 40 of the M1 member schools responded to try and gauge their attitudes on certain things. And then ultimately, we're here today to make a recommendation to the group. And like I said, we're going to dive in a little bit more in the M1 council if they'd like on this. So I'm just giving you guys an overview here. Put together a committee of guys here, and I want to thank them for their work, their candor, their opinion. Had a number of great discussions here that helped guide where we are today. So I want to thank these guys for their work. We put out a survey, and a lot of you guys did complete it. We tried to ask both quantitative and qualitative questions to gauge how you felt about certain things. And we wanted to take that data to help maybe guide how teams felt, to maybe assess some of the things that we were trying to do. And I wanted to just highlight a few things along that survey for you all here. The first and the most obvious question was, hey, do you guys support this? And between the maybes and the yeses, it was about an 82% rate, which basically to me says that most of the people said, well, if it makes sense for us, it might make sense. But I wanted to ask that question just to see where we started. We dove in a few areas in the survey that I wanted to share with you guys on some positive response elements here. More than half the program said that they found a lot of value in the ability for the university to directly connect to help support your programs. Player experience, 3/4 of the respondents said that they would be able to deliver certain elements to their athletes within their program in the way of sufficient practice ice, strength training, access for athletes to mental health support. Again, we were batting about 70% on teams that would be able to provide a contracted head coach, equipment management, dedicated athletic training. Those are important for athletes. The technology one that we threw in there, I actually do a little bit of work in football as well. And between that and the USHL, one of the requirements that's there is that when your game is over, you have a certain number of hours to upload it to a centralized database so that the team you're playing the following week or even the following night has access to your game film so they can plan on how to beat you. So there was a lot of programs that said, yeah, we think we could do this. Few areas of concern. One of the questions that we asked was about equipment and programs' ability to be able to provide equipment, including sticks, which is a huge investment. I get to see those bills every month, and it's pretty substantial. The second area that there was maybe a little bit of concern expressed was the length that teams could go for visiting team resources. The standard approach that I started with was that your visiting teams you would make the environment as close to home as you could through ability to store gear, ability to do laundry, access to sharpening, things like that. There was probably a little bit more than half the schools weren't able to do that. So after we did this, we took the data in the survey, again, as a guide. We're trying to gauge how people feel about certain things, and we applied the standards to a document that I created that I can share with any one of you if you'd like to see it. We created a minimum standards document that was split into two basic sections. First was like a non-negotiable standard. Like if you are going to be a part of a potential new division, you have to do this. And then the second part was a little bit more of a flexible scorecard for things that you'd like to see. Size of ice surface, seating capacity, certain things that aren't demanded standards, but are a little bit more nice to haves, and create a scorecard through it. We spent a lot of time discussing like how this construct could work. And then we also put together a document that said, okay, this is the process to do it. Had more discussion. And then we got to the most important part, which was discussing practicality. And when we got through that practicality part, my recommendation to this group through the work of the committee was that it's probably not feasible right now to do that, with a caveat. After reading the bylaws, riveting document, by the way, but after reading the bylaws quite a few times, there's really nothing that would stop a group of schools from forming their own league to do the same thing, their own conference within the division to do the same thing. So when I looked at it, my assessment based on travel, program cost, the ability to reach a critical mass of participating programs, found that probably at this time it's not a feasible idea. So I do have some more feedback that I'll share with the M1 group that that revolves around that. The second thing, spent a little bit of time with Taylor on women's 2 construct that'll be discussed later today around removing some barriers to entry and creating a little bit ease of operation for new, emerging, or maybe changing women's 2 programs. And we'll dive into that later, a little bit later today, if I can bounce back and forth between a couple spaces. But wanted to just take a few minutes here again to share some of those findings with the broader group. And if you've got questions, you can grab me. I think we're probably going to keep moving on the agenda here, but at any point, if you got questions or want to just chat about it, feel free to seek me out. So thank you. Appreciate it.
On the last piece there that Lloyd talked about with W2, I know men's 3 is going through the same exercise through our vice president Steve Hijack and Derek Connor, looking at more of like a developmental type of opportunity under men's 3 for programs that want to come into the ACHA or may consider coming into the ACHA that might not be quite ready yet. So I know that's going to be a conversation in their divisional breakout session here today too. So that's exciting for me. It's talking about growth, right? And getting more programs involved, more opportunities for prospective student athletes. So we hope those conversations go very well. I want to thank Lloyd. The stuff that Lloyd also did, aside from all this, all the collection of that information, I mean, that's valuable stuff. It kind of gives us a bit of a landmark where we are. Statistics are always important information to collect, so I appreciate all the data points and everything that Lloyd did that went into developing that report, as well as assessing where we are in certain projects. I just want to start to thank a few people here. Obviously, our partners this year are listed up on the screen. They've been, a lot of them have been part of the ACHA for a long time. That speaks volumes. A lot of them are here today out in the vendor show as well. So we're very fortunate to have the partnerships that we do that are listed here on the screen. And I'm also excited about some of the guest vendors that we have that are out there right now as well. So this is important for us. Hopefully you have some time to go around after the divisional meetings today when lunch is served, and we have the coaches social to talk to those vendors out there, our partners, our guest vendors. They bring a lot to the table in their respective specialties. So please take some time and, thank them for attending and their interest in talking to you about their products and services. At the end of the day here, this is just completed my 7th year in this role. I love this. I love the opportunity to serve as your executive director. I love working with my staff. I want to thank my staff that are all in here today for all the hard work that you do with our membership that sit here with us today, and the teams and the eligibility form and everything you do from the tedious work to make the operations go well. So I'm not going to name everybody because I'm going to forget somebody, but the ACHA staff that I get a chance to work with every day is an incredible staff. Nobody leaves the ACHA. They bleed the red, white, and blue, and it's been a great experience, and I'm looking forward to the next 7 years at least. So hopefully I can serve in this capacity and serve and work with our staff. The board of directors, just a great group. They're very supportive of me. I don't talk to them a lot. I don't see them a lot. They let us do the work, but they've been so supportive of anything that we're looking at trying to do to make the ACHA better. So I appreciate the board and thank you guys very much. More importantly, sorry, maybe that was the wrong words, but more importantly, I think it's accurate. I thank you, our membership. Working with the ACHA, we try to do the best we can to make it a great product for you. But you can understand with 470 plus teams and 5 divisions, there's a lot of you out here that all want different things, right? And my role is to make sure I look at it from an ACHA perspective, from a wider angle than when I was a coach. And I've been in your shoes for 18 years as a coach, right? I remember how it was. You get focused on your team and you get focused on your players, and you get your power play players that are upset, it's not going well, and you got those internal those problems and challenges. Even in this role I'm in, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. I have a team, and I learn from my team, right? And sometimes I got to look at the bigger picture, and in this role, that's the key, is what's best for the ACHA as a whole. And sometimes we try to bring some policies in here or eligibility rulings that is probably the best answer for the ACHA as a whole. It might not seem the best fit for your team, but it's a challenge, and that's what makes the ACHA great. We're a large animal, a lot going on, and sometimes we don't do everything well. For example, the tournament format last year, I think we took away from the student athlete experience. I'm here today to tell you we're going to move in a different direction and make it a better experience next year in St. Louis. So assess and reassess. We're in the solution resolution business, as you are on your campuses, and I really appreciate your support and time. So thank you again. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll be here all day until 2 o'clock.
Thanks, Craig. And Lloyd. I do remember Lloyd in that picture. I was actually playing in that tournament, and they had just won a national championship. And I remember walking up the hallway, and there was a coach, and he was actually smart enough to take his jacket off before he went into the locker room. That was pretty smart. 31 years ago, and these are the stupid things I remember. So anyway, Ted's our new USA Hockey rep. He said he's going to talk about what he's got.
Yeah, all good. All right, so thanks for hosting me. I'll show a video in a second. Yeah, right there. I must admit, it's a little humbling. I grew up in hockey. I have multiple kids that played. Often my middle daughter's the only one of ethnicity on the ice, so I've had to deal with all the racial issues related to our sport that sometimes don't get handled properly. But for this group, it's very humbling because my son was a senior at Denver. And this team from Vegas came up and played us at Denver. And we have a pretty good D1 program, I heard. I don't know, won 2 natties. And I sat in the rink and watched the Vegas team beat our Pioneers, and it was incredible. The talent that was on the ice from your UNLV team was just awesome. And you guys should all be proud of the development and the coaching that you're doing. I was awestruck. And to walk out of Magnus with a victory was, awe-inspiring. And then I had a chance to go to the national tournament in St. Louis, and just everything that you guys do is terrific. Now, when USA Hockey usually talks, we talk about our gold medals and our 20 team won and our women's team won, and we've got the Olympics this year, and we should have won the 4 nations, but we'll get them in the Olympics. But that's not my USA Hockey. I'm on the executive committee and I run membership. So my job is to grow hockey, and this is my USA Hockey. So that's, for me, USA Hockey. And the great thing about hockey, as you guys all know, is hockey is a sport for everybody. It's the only sport, I think, in the United States, maybe the world, that has boys and girls, men's and women's, warrior hockey, blind hockey, sled hockey, special hockey. It has all hockey. It's all races, all creeds, and you're part of that family. And you know that when somebody gets hurt on the ice. We all give through a community. And that's why it's great to have a chance to work at USA. I grew up in the business world. I was chief operating officer of AAG. I built an InsurTech company. How I got into USA Hockey was I sponsored the women's national team personally and through our firm when there was a contract dispute about equal pay. So we stepped in to fund the team. And that's why I love our sport. I love our sport because it gives opportunities. And for the younger people in the room, as your kids grow up, you'll be part of hockey. And they may not be, I just flew back from last night at 1 o'clock in the morning. My kid plays for the Florida Panthers Checkers AHL team. So I was in Charlotte, flew here. Unfortunately, they lost. Was watching it on Slow Hockey. But the chance to have your children be part of that and grow up and develop is really what this sport's about. So there's two stories about this that I'd like to share. Then I'll get into some boring figures. Okay. One is when we, right when I joined USA Hockey, my son Jack was playing at Nodak. Not a very friendly place for Denver Pioneers, if anybody knows anything about college. So I'm standing in the stands, and I have my Denver stuff on, but I also have a USA Hockey hat. And my mom comes up with a 26-year-old special hockey player. And this young man can't look me in the eye. But he saw the USA Hockey hat. And he plays on a special league. And she came up and pulled me aside and said, hey, hockey saves his life. Hockey saves his life. And I said, why? And she said, because every Thursday he gets to go play with his friends. And he feels part of it. And that's hockey. The second is, if you've ever gone and seen a sled game, or a blind game, or a deaf game, go. Go. Sled hockey is the most cool thing in the world. You guys are great. I'm sure you're a great player. I'm sure you're a great player. You a great player? Pretty good? You a great player? You was nice about it. Okay. Go see sled hockey. Go see Jacqueline Farmer. Jacqueline Farmer is the Gordie Howe of hockey, of sled hockey. 26 years old. He's broken every record. It's amazing. So at that sled event, which I just was at, Declan came, talked to the kids. We did a try hockey for free. Of that event, we had 50 teams. 30 of the teams, the kids were under 16. So think about that. That's cool. By the way, you're a tough guy, right? Tough guy? Yeah, you're pretty tough. These guys are really tough. Go play sled hockey, go into the corner, and have the other sled not stop. Those guys are badass, right? Badass. And so that's hockey for me. Hockey for me is everything. Boys, girls, men's, women's, all races, all creeds. Sled, blind, deaf, special, warrior. And that's why hockey's so cool. That's why hockey is so cool. Now the boring stuff. Sorry. Got to do it. I'm a geek. So I coach my son in the summer on skills, so I'm not like Lloyd and some of these great hockey guys, but I'm not tragic either, right? So we'll be working on some zone exits this weekend. Okay, so these are the numbers. USA Hockey is 1 million members. 1 million members strong. We're growing at 2%, which is a big number. Overall, 3% The fastest growing category, which is, again, since I have two daughters that play, is female hockey, which is why I'm excited about Craig talking about the growth of the ACHA women's division. That is our fastest growing area, and it's awesome. Great coaches, great disabled, and we're only 10 off your numbers on ACHA, so I had to go back and check quickly, so I'm glad the team didn't screw this up. And as I've said to your executive committee, we at USA Hockey are super committed to growing the ACHA. We want to shift some of our money that we give to more growth-oriented things, because our goal is that we have 180,000 roughly adult players. I want to get that to 200,000. 200,000 adult players. And the ACHA is a critical part of that. So we're talking about how we adjust some of the funding that we give, which is not in the grand scheme of things huge, but for me in my little budget, it's very material to try to grow more hockey. So whether that's your prospect camps or a different tournament, that's what we want to be all about. Now, here's what's going on at USA Hockey. The first is what I just described. We want to help grow this league. I think it's particularly important because of all the impact that Canadian kids are having and coming into the U.S. Again, I'm very close to Denver. My daughter goes to school there. We understand what's going on. Of the 7 kids that DC is bringing in right now, 6 are from the CHL. 6. We've never done that. By the way, Denver never takes a kid from the transfer portal other than 1 or 2. It's not part of the culture. But with the changing landscape, we have to do it at Denver. And I think the number is something like 750 CHL kids are going to come into college hockey this year. It's a monster number, okay? That's why the ACHA for me is important, because I'm in charge of helping grow U.S. players, not Canadian players, with respect to Canada, okay? So I think it's critically important. You're critically important. I love the transfer portal idea. Awesome. The second, as I mentioned, I want to really grow women's hockey. I'm biased because I have girls, but I think it's an amazing thing. Third, we do a lot of work. The thing that's crazy about USA Hockey, and I didn't know this, is we have over 300,000 volunteers that help us. So think about that. 300,000 volunteers that help make hockey go every single day, including all you. That's insane, okay? But we need to do more engagement at the local level. And that's what the third bullet is. Really get better involvement at the local level to try to grow. The fourth is we have a massive partnership with the NHL, obviously, for multiple reasons. Our team is in Denmark. They won 5-0 yesterday, last night. John and Mancini on the hockey side, huge partnership. For me on membership, each one of the NHL teams runs a Learn to Play program. We get 30,000 new members at 6U and below from the NHL Learn to Play program. It's a $200, $300 investment by the NHL back into hockey, okay? We're expanding that. They're going to contribute another $100,000 this year for us. And we're going to expand the NHL Learn to Play program for local markets. Tulsa, Omaha, Utica, places that don't have NHL teams. And so we want to then, as we do that, partner with communities, many of which could be ACHA based, to try to grow. Because I want to get another, over the next 3 years, 24 Learn to Play NHL sponsorship teams to start to drive this out. And if we can pull that off, it's going to be great for the game. The fourth is, and I think this affects you guys, is we've invested a little over $400,000 in a new learning management system. So why is that important? Well, right now it takes months and months and months to get a new coaching video on our system, as you guys may have experienced. And they're not all up to date, having coached. Now we can upload a video in a day. so we can accelerate the amount of learning and development that we're doing with our coaches and our officials and our players with our new LMS system, which will be really good. And one thing that we'd love feedback from you guys is what material would be good from an LMS perspective to help the ACHA and help you guys do it. But it's a big investment for USA Hockey. The next one is, I really want to expand our Learn to Play programs for all kids, but particularly for adults. Our great game should not be limited to if you started to play at 5, which probably many of you did. So we're going to run multiple Learn to Play programs, and in this case, Pure Hockey has stepped up and contributed $100,000 for us to run 6 Learn to Play programs across the country for adults. And we think that's going to be great because there's a lot of parents whose kids are playing hockey and have never played before, and they love the game, but we have to get them playing the game, and that'll be what's part of that. The last one I'm in the center of, we're, again, from a business perspective, I'm a little bit of a geek, I'm a little bit of a technology guy. We're going to implement what's called the Microsoft Fabric framework for AI into USA Hockey. And it will be very advanced on player development, very advanced on growth. And for those of you that work in business in some form or fashion, it's the most advanced AI platform in the world. And we will be implementing it this year, and it will go live in December. What that allows us to do is take all the 25-year core data set that we have and map out how players have developed, what coaches have done well, how they've grown as players, how we can drive membership, where attrition is, how new kids go into the game and stay or leave. All of that stuff will be helped to try to grow hockey, and I think it'll be pretty useful. We're going to grow blind, deaf, and special hockey. We're going to partner with 10 rehab facilities across the country next year and really get a lot of kids that need help play our wonderful game. By the way, as my boss explains to me sometimes, Ted, your disabled number is a small percentage of your million members. And I say, and I love him. I do. I love Pat. That's a good guy. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because I believe all these little groups that play hockey are the soul of hockey. They are hockey. So if it's just 4,000 disabled players, if we get one more player of ethnicity or growth into playing the game that we love, that's just exactly what we should be all about. So we're going to do that. By the way, has anybody ever seen a blind game? Okay, tell me what's different about a blind game.
There's no offsides, there's no icing, they just.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, no offside. Well, so as you enter the zone, the goalie has to hear that you're about to enter the zone. Okay? So the puck for a blind game, snap your computer for a second. By the way, we bought all the blind pucks in the world because the manufacturer went out of business. That's smart. We're not that smart. That's smart. A blind puck is this size. So it's a circle, and it's super heavy. Okay? Take your circle. And what makes it unique is there are ball bearings in it. Okay? Because they have to be able to hear the puck. Okay? So it makes massive noise. Because the players have to know where it is. Right? Lloyd knows this, right? And so as you enter the zone, there has to be a noise for the goalie to get ready. Because otherwise, what the heck would they do? Right? So as you enter the zone, there has to be some noise, or it's they call us out. Because the goalie has to get ready. Go see a blind game. It's unbelievable. It is the soul of hockey. And it's cool. So we're going to grow that. And then next year, it turns out, we have the Olympics, and we have the U20 championship in Minnesota. And we're counting on our teams, men's and women's, to, kick major ass. Canadians are going to get it on both the men's and the women's side. That train is coming. So that's USA Hockey. Thank you for being a part of it. And I'll be around if you have any questions. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we have one more item on our agenda. Where's Ryan? Come on up. So we have a proposal. Ryan's gonna make the proposal. He's got 5 minutes to do it. This would be a change to a bylaw, so it's gonna require a 2/3 vote. So you've got the floor.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and I really appreciate all the words from the ACHA, all the words from USA Hockey, because the message and what was talked about throughout the day was growth. How do we grow the program? Growth, opportunity. The mission, of the ACHA is to grow the program. This proposal would allow any team based on merit to be able to move up, okay? So whether you're a 2-year college, a 4-year college, if you're good enough to move up, you're able to move up. Subsequently, if you're at D1 or D2 and you're not, performing, or maybe you win 1 game in 3 years, maybe it's time to move down. So it also talked to having a committee, by the ACHA to help make all the, D1, D2, D3 equal, better opportunity, better, leagues, better, conferences, equal. So that's the proposal in a nutshell.
Do we have a motion to accept the proposal? And do we have a second? Okay, now we enter the discussion phase. So if you have a question, or if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, Rusty has the wireless mic he'll be sending over there. You have 30 seconds to ask a question or make a comment, and then we'll give Ryan the floor if he needs to respond. So if there are any questions, step up and.
I'd like to say, since nobody's asking questions, that, our jobs here, we're stewards. We've all played the game, all right? We're here as coaches or presidents or representatives, but we represent kids, okay? They deserve fairness, they deserve fair play, they deserve opportunity. And the league deserves the opportunity to grow. So, and that's all that this proposal would have in mind.
Just state your name and where you're from.
Rich Kuznetsky, Oklahoma State. I guess my question is, will the committee, if this goes through, if you're performing well, will they automatically bump you, or is that a decision, and vice versa? If you're not performing, will the committee say you've got to move down?
Well, I believe that would have to be worked out during policies. I think that would be something that, a committee would have to be formed, and there would have to just be some sort of rules where, again, once we got to that point, it would be, coaches, decisions to, help prioritize those.
Any more questions?
Dave Jurassic. So your proposal basically would take the decision-making away from the divisions as to who can move up into their division or who can move down into their division?
Well, it would give the opportunity for teams to move up if they wanted to. So right now, there are some teams that if they're, 2-year colleges, they're not allowed to move up. There's restrictions in, the rules and the bylaws that we have. So this gives everybody a fair playing field based on merit.
But in the same token too, generally, I know in Division I, men's, you have to apply for membership to Division I. Are you eliminating the
No.
application process?
The application process would still, be the same application process.
Thank you.
It just gives them the opportunity.
I have another question over here.
I'm getting my steps, it's good.
Todd Humphrey, Western Michigan University. As I read this, all this does is remove the 2-year stipulation from the ability to apply. I don't see anything in the actual language that includes a competition committee or anything. That's not actually involved in this proposal. It's in the notes, but it's not actually in the proposal. That's just commentary, correct?
I guess to an extent, I think we've spoken, and I think, again, policy would have to be made within the divisions.
I would think something like a competition committee in that sense would need to be included in the actual proposal if that were going to be included as part of this.
Well, I would agree.
Any more questions?
Well, just to clarify, so if somebody's suggesting an opening for friendly amendment to say, if we were to pass this, let's put it in the language that there would be a committee for each division to determine movement, is that like how does that work?
There is a process for applying to a division. I think that process would remain the same. I think all he's looking to do is remove the barrier that would allow a 2-year school to apply to M1 and W1. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so just to clarify,
So the process, whatever the process would be, I don't see it changing unless you decide.
No, I just want to make sure for people's
There's-
comfort level to vote if there was maybe a need to change the language, but I think to reiterate the purpose of this proposal, just to, for W2, deputy commissioner, so I see how this is affecting W2. I think the point is that we want the men's 1 and W1 divisions to open the door to allow those teams to even apply. So we're not changing the application process or what those divisions deem as a team to join their division. But as W2 has seen a team that's a 2-year college with 3 championships in a row, we would welcome the opportunity for that team who, if they're interested, would be able to apply to W1. Right now, that's not possible. So if W1 wants to have a team, we would think they would want to welcome them to your college and not have that barrier in place. So that is the purpose of this proposal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, got it.
Perhaps we could give him with ACHA Hub.
So one thing I wanted to check in on is, with the junior college, we have in Division 2, at least 2 Canadian schools. I think M2 also has a couple of Canadian schools. But this wording here says college and university is located in the U.S. as territories or possessions. Do we need to adjust the language to make the language inclusive of our Canadian partners in the ACHA?
I believe that's a good question, but, I mean,
That may be how it states today, and you just adjusted the existing language, but I want to triple check to make sure that we're being inclusive of our Canadian members.
Absolutely.
That are already full members of the ACHA. We're
Correct.
intending on removing those members from the ACHA for extreme
Correct.
clarity.
yes,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Going once, twice? At this time.
Paul Rosette from Sioux College. Just wanted to echo what Taylor said. I think opening up this doesn't necessarily mean that teams are moving, but teams that want to move, I think it allows, it creates, we're one of the teams I think there's been discussion about, and it certainly creates controversy, tension, whatever you want to say, where you have a team that possibly has been very successful, that would like to move up, that can't move up. It just creates an uneven playing field in some respects, and I think it's not a lot of fun for everybody. So I think it just allows teams those opportunities.
Sure. And that's part of it, but basically, it's about fair play. It's about the opportunity. It's about the growth of the sport. If you're a Division III and you want to move up and you're only a 2-year college, but you're a good team, you should have the opportunity to.
Everybody good? So let's call the vote. All in favor of the motion? Only a yellow wristband. Raise your hand, please, and we'll count both sides. All in favor?
Keep your hands up if you would.
Okay, opposed? It's like the horse. And any abstentions? What do you got? Abstentions again, one more time, really high. 1, 2, 3. I got 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 79 for, 24 against, 7 abstentions. At 72%, the motion passes. So that's all we have at this time. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Any second? All in favor? Craig, you want to let people know what's going on or where we're going? So you're going to go right to your breakouts now?